All right, welcome to this week's Q&A. So as you can tell, I'm at a different spot here. I'm not over at the desk like I usually am. So we're going to have a few different camera angles here today. So if you haven't seen any of my sessions where I actually print live and let you watch, that's what we're going to do today. So I had an order that I thought would be a good fit. I get a lot of questions about white ink. Everybody wants to know, how do you keep it from drying, or what is it like to print with it? Or maybe afraid to try printing with water-based white ink. So I'm going to maybe show you how I print with water-based and how I print white. So we'll talk about some of that stuff. If you, again, as always, if you have questions, leave those in the chat. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this after the fact and you have questions, then leave them in the comments, and I try to answer every single comment. So I'll get to those as soon as I can. But again, we're going to do some white printing here today. The first thing I'm doing here is I'm warming up my platens. So when you print with water-based ink, it does help to have your platens a little warmed up prior to starting to print. But keeping in mind that water-based, unlike plastisol, thickens when it gets warm, whereas plastisol will actually thin out, get a little easier to work with as it gets warm. Water-based does get thicker, and the water starts to evaporate as things warm up. So you don't want to heat them up too much, but it is nice to heat the platens up a little bit. And I've got the print grip on here, so the print grip does become a little more tacky as it gets a little hotter. So I'm warming it up. I'm not worried about cleaning them off. It's going to work just fine for today's print. I've only printed a couple of orders since last cleaning these, so I don't have to worry about that. So just heating these platens up while we get ready. So Chase, hello from Connecticut. Welcome, Chase. Glad to have you here, man. So yeah, let me know what questions you have, specifically water-based ink, white ink printing. I did have one question while we wait on the platens to kind of heat up here that someone had asked on YouTube. They asked my opinion on the X-Tool laser screen printing kit. And while I don't have that kit, I can't really speak to its quality and whether it's a good fit for screen printers. I can say that if you have a small space, I would say, and you already have a laser, probably not a bad idea. It's at least a good transition into the screen printing world. Or if you're not going to be doing a whole lot of screen printing, it's probably fine. I think it does have the ability to do multicolor in a similar fashion to the Pigskins and Pigtails press that is available at Ryonet, where the screens can come off and put another one on. They're already pre-registered, and you're kind of good to go. Registration is probably a little more simple just because it's a laser, so it's got laser accuracy. But again, I've never used it, so I can't really truly speak to whether it's a good screen print kit or not from a screen printer's perspective. But if you have a small space, don't be afraid to get some of these smaller presses and start there. It's never a bad place to start. In fact, I have my DIY kit right here, or the Riley 150, right under here. You can see it under the table. I started off with the DIY kit, which is similar to that, just a single, screen, single station, and it worked just fine for me and got me into this business. So I think that can be a great solution for those that have a small, cramped space. But don't be afraid to go with a smaller press to begin with. You can always upgrade as business begins to pick up and you decide that you really want to do this. So there's nothing wrong with going with the smaller presses. In fact, you could actually get more than you need, or too much press. Now you might argue, well, you can always, as you grow, you might fit into it, but it's not always best to spend all your money to get a big giant press. You might need to spend into some other areas that make your workflow more efficient and more simplified. So just wanted to address that one while we wait on these to heat up. So while we're heating up the rest of them, I'm going to go ahead and start mixing some ink. So let me switch a camera angle for you here, and we'll start getting ready to mix. So we're going to go overhead here. I'm going to mix this white. As you all know, or don't know maybe, I do use this warp drive. So this is a low cure catalyst for water-based ink, and we're going to be using the Comet White. So this is actually pre-mixed. So this is Comet White, but I've already mixed in 12% clear core into this in order to thin it out and get it a little easier to work with. So it's going to work great in that mixture for me here. I always mix it in these smaller containers. I buy the full gallon of white and the full gallon of the clear core, and I just mix a little bit at a time as I need it. And then whenever I get ready to print, I mix a little bit into the cup and add some warp drive, because the warp drive does ruin the ink as far as its usability beyond about 6 to 8 hours. So you do need to be ready to use it whenever you're mixing it. So I like to mix it in an extra cup because I don't want to clean out a ton of containers every time I print. So I mix into a solo cup, that way I can just toss it because the ink's bad anyways. So we got about 30 shirts. So we're going to print front and back with white ink on these. These are Toltecs 235, I believe, or maybe 220s. But they are a CVC, I believe. They're poly and cotton mixture. So they're going to be, actually, I think I'm going to put a little bit more. That's about 190 grams. Let's go with that. So that's 290. So that seems better. Probably not going to take all of that, but with white ink, you want to be sure that you have a little more than you need in your screen, because it's going to help keep the screen, help to keep the ink wet in the screen. You don't want to go super thin because that's going to just encourage it drying out. So I've got 297.64, so I'm going to use my calculator here, 64, and I'm going to put 1.5% volume of this clear core, or of the warp drive, sorry. So I take my number times 1.015, and that gets me my finished total. So my total needs to be 302. Now I could do the same thing by taking the original and multiplying it by 0.015, and then taking that total and adding it back to the original, but I like to just skip that and multiply it by 1.015. So we're going to go add some warp drive into here till we get to 302. Okay, so a little above where we need it, but that's okay. Better more than not enough. So I'm good here. Put that away. Then we just want to mix it up. So let me switch not forget about my platens here. Spin them around so none of them get too hot. Chase question while we're mixing here, other than black and white, would it make sense to just get the mixing kit versus the pre-made colors? That really depends, Chase. I mean, if you're going to be doing a lot of printing of various colors, then yeah, I think the kit is a great thing to have. I've had it since I started my business, and so it's been great for me. Now the formulas can be a little bit wonky, so you have to be careful what your formulas are. Like if you're mixing, whenever it says to use black pigment, I always start with half of what it says and then add on more after that, because it never seems to be the full amount of what it says it needs. So keep that in mind. But as far as whether you should get the standard colors or the kit, I mean, if you're not doing a lot of color variations, there's nothing wrong with the standard colors. I have many of them in my cabinet here. So I've got the gold, I've got the red and the navy. I mean, it's going to simplify things for you. Here's the green, Terraform green. It's certainly going to simplify things when it comes to using like standard primaries, like reds and navies and blues. But I have found that like their nebulous navy is not quite the shade of navy that I want. So I actually take it and I add a little bit of black pigment to it to kind of deepen it up a little bit. But they do have their standard colors in the Fusion mixing kit. So when you go to the formula website, you can get the formula for their navy. And so if you have the kit, you can mix up your own stock color. So, you kind of get the best of both worlds there. So if you can afford the mixing kit, by all means, I think it's not going to be a bad idea for you. But all that to say, I don't find that I've had to mix custom colors a whole lot. It's really going to depend on your audience and what types of apparel they're ordering, whether you need to have various colors available. For example, if your market really is like schools, then you probably need to have just the primary colors that most school programs have. The varsity golds, the athletic golds, the navies, the royals, the reds, the team purples. You have those in stock. You can pretty well serve the vast majority of your audience, so you're not going to be mixing a lot of customs. Whereas if you're working with retail brands mostly, then you probably need to have some mixing capabilities in your shop. So I think it just really kind of depends. While we're on the subject, you may have seen, if you saw my post on Instagram, that another question I've gotten, something that comes up quite a bit, and there's some differing opinions in every industry on this, and that is, do you really need to focus on one niche? And you might, let me switch cameras here and go over here. So you might think that might limit you, because everybody is under the assumption that, well, I serve anybody that wants apparel. I mean, we're in this business to print apparel, so anybody that wants it, I'm ready to print for them. And there's nothing wrong with that thought, but the thing to keep in mind is that, like I've heard Mark Coudray, who is a longtime industry expert, has built $1 million print company and then help others build $1 million print companies. He has said, not all business is good business. So that's something we have to keep in mind. But the other thing that choosing a niche will allow you to do is to really hone in on providing the most value for a specific audience. And that allows you to differentiate yourself from your competition in a way that they can no longer compete with you. So the shop across town is doing the same thing you do, and they don't have a niche either, and they're serving the general audience. Well, then it's just a battle of who can be the best printer, and while at the same time, who can be the cheapest. And those are two contradicting battles, and at some point, someone's going to lose the quality battle, and at that same time, the other person's going to lose the price battle, or vice versa. So it's a game that puts the industry out of business, really, and it does not serve the customer, and it's difficult to do. What happens when you serve a niche is you're able to communicate with them at a higher level. You're able to be seen as an expert in what they do, not just in what you do. And you're able to charge whatever, because now you're the expert in what they need, versus the other print shop. Even if they're a better printer, they don't understand your industry like this other printer does. So there's just an incredible amount of value in choosing a niche. But what you'll find that happens is that you choose a niche and you get really good at serving that niche, other people will come to you. So you will still serve a wide range of customers and a range of audiences, but you will get the most money off of the niche that you, or 3 or 4 niches that you really serve really well, because they're willing to pay you whatever you want, because you know what they need and you can provide that extra value. All right, I'll switch cameras one more time here to an overhead. I did a test print. I am ready to go. So got an overhead shot here and a wide angle. What we're printing here is just a one color, just a white ink on a charcoal shirt. These are for a local church, friend of mine, and they're a simple print. I do them every year. And really the nice thing about these is they do not want a very bright white. They want this to be kind of more of a vintage style print. So it certainly simplifies things on my end, makes life easier. So I'm going to check the location here. I'm about where I want to be. So I'm good to go, and we'll get started here. I'll check the chat periodically, and you can let me know. So this is perfect. This is exactly what they're wanting. Nice vintage look, not a solid white. This will provide a nice soft feel as well. So I'm done with this shirt. I can just pull it loose, and then I'm curing with my flash as always. So I just spin that around and it will cure. With that warp drive, it'll get to the 260 degrees. Once it reaches that temperature, it initiates the chemical curing process. And the only thing I don't like about these Toltec shirts is they don't have a side seam. You'll find when you have shirts with a side seam, you can really determine where they're going to be on the platen, and it's easier to get them straight. So as I'm printing here, again, I'll check the computer, and you guys have any questions about what I'm doing or about anything else, business or screen printing related, I can multitask and answer whatever it is you want to ask. And if I don't have the answer, I'll hopefully steer you in the right direction. But feel free to ask away. I am an open book. All right, so I know this is getting to the temperature, and I actually see it's getting quite a bit of steam. These are heating up pretty quick. So I'm going to pop this up a little bit, and I'm just moving my flash up. I don't know if you guys can see. Let me spin the video around here. Oh, other way. Oh, you can see it. Yeah, okay. So, keep an eye on this flash. You'll see it'll start to, I don't want to leave it under there too long. You'll see the steam start to come up, and that's telling me that I know just from experience that I don't have to check the temperature of this print. I know that once I see steam, that print is, see the steam starting to come now. That print is hot enough based on me having the warp drive in there, and I will have no issues with that being totally cured. And in, 7 years now since I started my own shop, after running another shop myself for 3 years, I know that that this process works, and I have never had, in my own shop history, never had a single order come back to me saying that the print didn't cure, or that it washed out or faded or anything like that. So as far as I'm concerned, the warp drive is a sure bet. So I'm checking this back part, and if I put my fingers under here, I can touch the shoulder seam, and as long as that's even, I can be pretty confident that I'm pretty even, and I can check the armpits here and see that they're pretty even across too. So that's all you can check when you don't have a side seam. I'm pulling the shirts up from the platens so that the air, these extra small shirts are kind of tight. So the air from the flash can get underneath the print, because I want to cure it all the way through, and it will heat up more evenly and efficiently as if I pull it loose from the platen. If you leave it down, you'll really have a hard time getting your print to temperature. So you always want to be sure if you're curing with a flash, you pull that loose from the platen first. This is about as easy as a white print gets. Chase asks, my pricing calculator is for Airtable, and yes, I have a pricing calculator. It's a cost pricing, so you need to put in some of your cost numbers on one of the tables inside of the Airtable database that if you purchase, that you will get. And you go into those tables and you put your own prices in there, in the price fees and the price structure area. Got a little bit of, it's not really even right here, so I'm going to hit this again to make sure that print is consistent. That looks much better. But once you put your own costs in there, it is programmed to do the calculations for you. So yes, it is on my site. It's for Airtable. I believe I've got it on there for 20 or 30 bucks. I use a variation of it now, but it is something that I used as is for years, and spent a lot of time building out the formulas and getting those to work appropriately. So if you need a pricing calculator, you can find that on my store, shop.startupscreenprinting.com. Some of the framework of that calculator is built off of the calculator spreadsheet that you can get from Printavo. Has one on their site that you can download as a lead magnet, so it's free. So you're welcome to use that as well. But if you like Airtable and you want the little formulas in there that I've created, and I set it up in a way where you can do like price tiers for different value for different customers. And, so like some customers I price at a certain tier, and other customers I price at, maybe a lower or higher tier. So I just like the functionality of Airtable as a database versus just a simple spreadsheet. Now I've used that to expand it into my full shop management, where I do everything in Airtable. My invoicing, my proof setup, my quotes, payments, production notes. I mean, literally everything. My shipping label, packing slip, everything. Getting rid of a little of white, so I'm going to add some more white to the screen here. And I'm moving a little bit faster, so I want to drop this down just a little bit more. Yeah, Chase says, what do you do differently now from what's in the one I sell? Basically, I've added all of the additional things inside of it. So you can get the Airtable artwork ID manager on my site too, and I have that for my own. I've got it combined into one, so it's been one Airtable database rather than two separate ones. But now I have taken the calculator as I sell it, and I'm testing a variant where the pricing is based more on a shop hourly rate rather than costs for each item. So it takes more things into account, like how long a given order would take you to print, and as different locations are added in and things like that, like how does that change the time it's going to take you to print that order. So I'm testing that, and that will come out once I get it to a point where I'm confident it's usable. So I'm testing that in my shop now. And which, by the way, if you're watching this and you're thinking, and this guy talks about like business stuff, and he's got courses on business and sells these items, but his print shop is still a side gig. Like, what's the deal? I want to talk to somebody that's made it, right? And so if you don't know enough about me, then let me just tell you, my shop, I have run a full-time print shop, and I figured out that was not where my passion truly lied. So I have intentionally held my current shop back. I have turned away orders. I have intentionally kept it from being more than I could handle as a side gig. The reason for that is my passion lies in teaching and in coaching and in business in general, helping other small businesses. And that's, I'm a consultant for large corporations in my day-to-day job as a career. So my passion lies in that stuff. So I want my shop to be a resource to use for research and training so that I can help you all build shops. So that's my purpose. That's my mission with the startup screen printing stuff. And so my goal with each bit of content and stuff is just to try and help and support the industry in an area that I'm confident in and abilities that I've been given, and that's business and teaching. So see if we got any questions. Nothing new yet. Take a quick Dr. Pepper break. All right, we're busting through these. We're about 15 shirts in of the 30 shirt run, so making good progress. Remember, I'm flooding after each print. Given that this is water-based ink, I don't want that to dry out in my stencil, so flooding that after each print is very important, especially with the white ink. Not as necessary with the colored inks that are a little thinner and wetter, but with the white ink, you definitely want to be sure that you are flooding the screen after each print. This is also an example of one of those customers where, you know, sometimes you get an order, and especially dealing with water-based, you know that the thinner the print, the softer the print, the more comfortable it's going to be to wear. And so when this customer was, like I said, a friend of mine, when they first came to me wanting me to print these shirts, it was my recommendation that we do a vintage, or that they consider a vintage print. Not in exchange for something else, but I just brought it up as, hey, have you thought about this? I could also do this. But that not only was a look that they really thought was cool and they really like, and they're happy to go with it, but on my side, it's easier to print, because rather than doing a print, flash, print again, I'm actually printing this order in half the time, and the customer is super happy with the result. So I didn't convince them or talk them out of a different way. I just made them aware, hey, this is also a potential. So when you get orders, don't always just assume the way they ask for it is what they want. Think about how it's going to be printed, how long it's going to take you, and how you might make your life easier while also giving them a pretty cool alternative that they hadn't considered because they didn't know about. Excuse my sniffing here. Also, I'm printing these. This is a 157, and it's the thin mesh, the hydro mesh, and this is the Eco Frames from Ryanette, which I love. I've been super happy with them. I love that I don't have to keep as many actual frames in my shop, and that if I rip one, I just change out the panel and I'm good to go. And they keep their tension way better than the static frames do. At least that's been my experience. Couple more here, and we'll take a break for some check on some questions, and then we'll flip these over and print the backs. Oh, it's my last print, so I shouldn't flood it. Leave that not flooded so it'll make it easier to clean out. All right, cool. So let these last two cure. And let's see what questions we have here. Let's see. Would you recommend this business for someone fresh out of college? Make this a little bigger. Put it up here where we can see. Yes, I would recommend this business even if you were in college. So I think it's a great way to make money. I think you have to make the right decisions in order to really be profitable with it. But if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to do things like choose the right niche, focus on the right types of marketing, things like email marketing that give you a 40-to-1 return on your dollar, and you spend enough time practicing the craft, I think it's a phenomenal business for anyone at any stage of life. I think it's great as or it could be a retirement business. It could be, a new career for middle age. Like myself, I'll be 41 in the next month, and I think it'd be a great career for someone in my age to switch to. So yeah, I think it's great for someone fresh out of college. And then Busky also asked, what blanks are these? They look pretty nice. These are the Toltecs. Let's see, got them right here. This is one of my work order sheets. So the Toltecs 202 Heather Charcoal. The heather colors of this shirt actually are a poly cotton blend. Most heathers are. So most heather colors, this one's going to be a 50-50. So even though the Toltecs 202 is labeled as a cotton t-shirt, the heather colors are not going to be 100% cotton. I don't know that I've ever seen a heather color that's 100% cotton. So, but yeah, it's a really nice shirt. It's super cheap. And if you're going for low cost, like a standard cotton shirt for a customer, I don't know why anybody would choose a Gildan or a Port & Company or an Anvil or anything over this as a standard tee, because this is so much more comfortable, so much softer, so much nicer. So I always go with the Toltecs. It's sold at S&S Activewear. It's their house brand. It used to be TSC's house brand, and then TSC was acquired by S&S Activewear. Chase, how long do you keep the shirts on the hanger? I'm about to take them off right now, so no real particular time. But we're going to print the fronts of the backs of the shirts now. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking them off. These are dry to the touch. So that print getting cured under that flash, it's dry to the touch. The warp drive will continue to actually harden and cure that pigment inside of the fibers over the next 48 hours. So if I were giving these to my customer, tonight, for example, I would just tell them, hey, don't wash these for a couple of days. But I typically try to finish an order before that so that I keep them here in the shop for a couple of days, and that way I don't have to tell my customer anything. I just say, enjoy the shirts. So, yep, that's how long I keep them on the hanger. They don't really have to. As long as they've cooled off, if the print's still hot, then you don't want to stack them, which is why I do the hangers, because you don't want to just stack a hot shirt. So as long as they've cooled off, they're fine to stack them back up. So since I have this print grip on here, I'm just going to lay my registration card back down. Not in any spot, but I just don't want my screen to be sticking to the print grip. And it very much will if I don't do that. So let's go ahead and clean this off. I don't need to clean this completely because I'm going to use this squeegee on the back print. So I'm going to set this here. The back print is on the other side. I'm going to scoop up the rest of this ink. Okay. Some of that has started to kind of thicken up a little bit, so I'm just going to mix it around with the ink that's still in here. Get it nice and smooth again. And then I'll put that in the screen here in a minute. And then we're going to clean this out, because with water-based you do need to clean it out when you're done. So I'm going to throw a glove on because I don't feel like getting my hands dirty, even though with water-based I can just rinse them soap and water. And I'm going to use my favorite water-based cleaning solution, Costco baby wipes. I have these boxes on there because I've got two designs on the same screen. So now instead of taping over that design, I just put a box there. Sorry if that's really loud. All right. Busky says, I have a little 4x1 that I use to print for my brand. However, I'm looking to get more into contract printing. What advice would you give to someone trying to get their first clients? Just like, not from a contract printing perspective, but if you're just wanting to get your first flat out first screen printing client, my recommendation is to tell everybody you know that you're now screen printing. Because what I've found and what I've heard so many times over and over again is that once your friends and family hear that you're printing t-shirts and you tell them about it, suddenly it's like no one had ever known anybody that needed a shirt. And then when you tell them you do it, now suddenly they run into somebody, or they remember, or they see somebody that needs shirts. And so that's how you get your first customer, is by telling everybody that you're doing it. And I recommend that you be honest that you're starting out. And you tell them, I'm just getting started, I'm learning, so that it takes the pressure off of you to be perfect. Now, you still want to deliver a quality product, but they know that you're getting started. They know they're supporting someone who's just getting started, and they actually appreciate that. So I would just tell everybody that that's what you do. Start printing some shirts and giving them to your friends and family as freebies, so as an example of what you do. And I bet you'll get your first customer faster than you think. All right. Let's throw some ink in the back here and we'll get started on the back print. Keep the questions coming. Oh, got some ink on my hand. You do this with plastisol, that's there for days. But I just take a baby wipe. Totally gone. Love water-based ink, y'all. All right, where's my test shirt? Let's switch the camera back. Looks perfect. All right, 30 shirts. Can we get these done before 2 o'clock? 20 minutes, 30 shirts in 20 minutes. That seems pretty easy. Should be able to do that, no problem. I like to start on the first arm, just so I know where I'm at. Not as big a deal when I come back around, but if I were to do a print flash print, it helps me know that don't pull that shirt, it's time to print it again, it's back around to the front. These I'm going a little bit lower, but I think I actually have the print set up lower, so let's check this. Yep. This is going kind of in the middle of the shoulder blades here. And this is, again, I've printed this order probably once a year for the past 6 years. So since I use my pre-registration template, I know that most of my shirts, when I'm printing them, I can put the collar seam, the neck seam, right at the edge of the platen. And my print is typically where I want it to be. And that's because I've used that registration card, that pre-registration template rather, to line that up the way I want it. And that template fits perfectly in the screen rack, and it's right here. This is my first concept version, but you can order that version in my store too, or the new version, and I will have it printed and shipped to you. I get them printed by another company, a offset press. But it took my registration time, and it cut it in more than half when I started using that thing. As always, let me know if you have any questions as you're watching. I hope you can tell that I'm not rushing through this. I think a lot of people are afraid with water-based that you have to move too quickly and it starts to dry out. I mean, I step away from it and come do the Q&A parts and have no issue. So it's not as difficult as some might lead you to believe. It is very doable for a lot of setups. In fact, it could be argued that it is easier for an at-home shop that decides they want to do just water-based and they're not curing with a dryer. That's almost the easiest setup for water-based printing, because what some of the big shops have difficulty with is the process to cure water-based is different than the process to cure plastisol. The amount of dwell time that is required for a shirt to go through a dryer and for that print to reach the curing temperature for the amount of time it needs to is different between water-based and plastisol. And so you typically will have to either have a separate dryer, and like the bigger shops might have a separate dryer and a separate press, or you need to adjust the settings on your dryer. So then you need to be sure that you're doing only water-based prints when your dryer is configured for water-based curing. So that's one reason it can be difficult for shops to make the transition or to offer both options. But if you're just getting started, or you're just an at-home shop, or you're a small shop and you know deep down you really want to just do water-based ink, but you're afraid that it's too difficult for you or you don't have the right setup, I'm telling you, it's not as difficult as as some may lead you to believe. But that doesn't mean it's not difficult, and it comes with its own set of challenges. But I decided early on that it was worth the challenges to me. And like I said, I've been successful printing just water-based ink for 7 years now, and I do not plan to ever switch over to plastisol. If I get a customer that wants plastisol, I just sub it out. Chase, good question. Do I ever sell any shop shirts? I don't see any on your site. I haven't, but would you want one? I mean, I can put them up there. I haven't thought about people wanting those, so I could certainly add some on there. I've got a couple of, I've probably got some now that I could throw up, various sizes. I keep some stock of shop shirts. Let's see. So these are a couple of designs that I have currently. So of course my standard logo. So my shop is called Alpine Apparel Co. So I have this one, and then one of the newer ones is this one. Alpine Apparel Co. I don't know if you guys can see those. But no, I've never thought about it. So, I mean, if people are interested in some of my shop shirts, I'd be glad to put some up. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. Got some other colors and stuff. I have a DTF hoodie that my friends and family have loved. So, oh, we get the right angle here. Yep. So I don't know if you guys can see. That's been a really popular one. But thanks for asking. I'll put some up there maybe. I don't know if you meant startup screen printing shirts or Alpine shirts. I mean, you said shop shirts, so I assume Alpine, but if you want a startup screen printing shirt, maybe I can print some of those too. Yep, that's hot enough. Let's see what else. Oh, this is great, Busky. I'm excited to hear that. Yeah, that's awesome. Great question, Higher Life Form Studios. Why do you, leave that up. Why do you print with water-based rather than plastisol? Oh, this is cool. Yeah, Chase. All right. Yeah, I'll put some up there. And yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so let's go back to this one. Why do you print water-based instead of plastisol? So rewind a little bit back to 2013. I started working at a print shop as the designer and the production manager. So I was in charge of all the printing and all the artwork. I was in charge of the team that was printing, so I was their manager. And we printed just plastisol. I didn't know water-based even existed. And so as I learned more, and as I at one time had my own brand, I had a hammock company, and we did t-shirts to sell with the hammocks. And I hated that I was buying a really nice tri-blend shirt and then putting this rough, not rough, but like thick sticker feeling print on it. And our logo for our hammocks was a big circle with a tree, and it was fully filled in. So it was like a big sticker. And it just felt like I was wasting my money. So I found out about water-based printing. And so I knew if I ever got the chance, I was going to either transition that shop into printing water-based, and we were considering it whenever I left. But like I said, at the last year of that shop, I ran all the day-to-day operations myself. And we were planning to move to a new building, so we were in a transition of getting out of the first building and moving to the other whenever I left, and whenever they actually sold the company, my friends that owned it. And so then I helped the new owners. I consulted with them from Colorado back to Tennessee, and taught them about the industry and about how to run the business and stuff. And then they went on to be successful, and they've sold it since. But when I started my own shop, I thought, well, that's it. I'm going to do water-based because I'm at my home, so I don't want the chemicals of Plastisol. I used to hate getting Plastisol ink on me and it being like you get it on your clothes, it's not coming out, which is funny because we always worry about curing things and them coming off the shirt, but you get it on it accidentally, for some reason it just won't come out. It's frustrating. But getting it off your hands requires chemicals. It's a nasty product. I just don't like it at all, and I don't like having it in my home, not only for the drainage part of things, but also just having the chemicals and the cleaning supplies and the ink itself in my home. I don't like it. Now, it was recommended to me to start with Plastisol because it's easier to work with, and it is easier to work with. The warmer it gets, the easier it gets to work with. And you can, print an order like this, leave the ink in the screen, not even flooded, and come back a month later and pick up right where you left off. You can't do that with water-based. You got to clean up as soon as you're done. So there's more time involved with water-based. There's more care involved. It can be a little more expensive to do. In fact, I charge higher prices than a lot of my competitors, and I tell my customers that. Well, I'm printing water-based. They're not. It's a little more expensive, and I provide a premium product, so it's more expensive. So that's my main reason, is the chemical part. But the biggest benefit, I think, is how water-based soaks into the fibers of the shirt, so that after you wash the shirt, you won't even be able to feel the print. And you don't get that with Plastisol. Some people like that, and that's fine. Plastisol has its place, and some people love it, and rightfully so. It does a very good job at what it's meant to do. It's just not for me. I tried printing Plastisol one time, and that's the only time I've ever had a print wash out of a shirt. It was difficult to cure it with a flash, but again, in 7 years of my business, I've not had a single order come back to me with the print not being fully cured or washing out or cracking, which you don't really get the same cracking issues that you get with Plastisol because the ink is in the fibers of the shirt, not sitting on top like Plastisol does. But Plastisol is just not for me. It works well for some other shops, and some shops are able to get a really nice soft print with it, and that's great. It's just not the path I want to take. So I am full water-based and will always be that way. Keep getting hung on the bolts on the bottom of the platen. Any issues with water-based ink going straight down the drain versus use a filtration system? So you do need to be, well, you know, they're not as harsh with chemicals as plastisol. There are still some things in there that I probably wouldn't be confident putting down the drain without a filtration system. You might be fine. I know shops that are, you know, full-time location shops. It's not unusual to get water tested and your drains tested to make sure you're not putting too much down the drain, and there are limits. And they can track those things. I know there's a shop here in Denver that years and years ago got a really hefty fine because the systems tracked the pollutant back to their shop, and they came and tested their stuff, and they were fined like tens of thousands of dollars, I think. So you want to be careful with it, depending on what your location is. You know, if you're residential or you know, going into a sewer system, I would just you need to try and clean off as much ink as possible. And this is true no matter what you're doing. Try to put as much of the ink as you can down the drain. And then for anything that you do need to have in your wash bay, I would highly recommend a filtration system. When I was getting started with my shop, there was a point when I was getting close to buying a dryer. I thought, well, I need a conveyor dryer. I can't cure with a flash forever. I was wrong, because I've cured with a flash for 7 years now with no issues. And I decided to spend my money on a wash bay and a filtration system rather than a dryer. And I have not regretted that a single time. So I think it's an important piece of equipment. We want to take care of your facilities and take care of the earth we've been placed on. All right, that is it. So while I clean up, a few more minutes, we're able to do 30 shirts there, front and back, white ink in under 60 minutes, and answer questions and do some chatting, which I thoroughly enjoy, as you know. So not too bad. It's no automatic press, but works just fine. Any more questions while we wrap up? I'm going to go ahead and unplug my flash. Got it plugged in over here. Securing that last shirt, it'll continue to stay hot enough. As soon as I see the steam, yep, there it is. And I could tell you, you know, if you're using one of these laser temp guns and you're back here, you don't know the temperature of your print. You got to get right up in there on it, okay? So that's over 300 degrees, that's plenty. It only needs to get to 260. But on these laser temp guns, if you are 24 inches away, then the area you're reading is an average of 3-inch diameter. So that's not getting you a very precise reading of the temperature of your print. So you need to get right up in there on it. You know, a lot of people will try to they'll just step back, you know, or they'll do it from across and think that they're getting something accurate. You're not being accurate unless you're being really close. All right, let's pull these last ones off. Boom. Done there. Move the flash out of the way. Let that cool off. And let's clean this screen out. So, I'm going to grab a glove again. Where did I put those? I wouldn't recommend putting your screen on these print grips like that because it will stick and pop and it's ugly. All right, that ink is done. If you see any supplies that I'm using and you want to know what I'm using, I try to list everything, all my favorite stuff, both software and anything, over at the screenprintingtoolbox.com. So you can always find my links to different services and tools and things over there. Link is in the description. Most of them are affiliate links. Some of them are not, but the caveat I give is that none of them are items that I do not use in my business. So I am an affiliate for things that I don't use, and you will never see me post those links unless I'm asked for them and I have either tried them or I can vouch that they are worth using. But everything that I link to, I either use it or use the brand, and I trust it. So I'm confident in sending you to it. If you haven't already, which Chase, I think, if you're still on, you're one of the ones who just joined the print crew today. If you haven't joined the print crew, it is free. It is an online community for screen printers. It's a place to encourage and be encouraged by other printers who just want to learn more and help other printers build businesses. It's a place where you can feel safe to ask any questions about printing, even if there are rookie questions. I don't like Facebook. I definitely don't like Facebook groups. I think they're difficult to navigate. So I started the print crew, theprintcrew.com, and you can join there. And conversation is not constant over there, but there is some chatter and just printers that truly enjoy helping each other, and that's what I want. So if you care to join us over there, feel free to do so. Always feel like you can reach out to me with questions about anything. I'm always happy to help, and I will respond when I can. If I can help you from a coaching perspective and help you grow your business, you can reach out to me, and we can talk about what that might look like for you. We'll have a discovery call and talk more about what options might be and whether we're a good fit. And then I do have the products on my site. I've got a couple of courses on design and business, and those are always available on my site. They're on-demand courses, and they can help you get a solid foundation and a plan for your business to be successful. They are solid strategies that I know will build your business if you will implement them. And then last but not least, I don't take any outside sponsorship other than affiliate income. But I don't take any outside sponsorship from other businesses like Ryan Ed or anything like that. So this channel, what I'm doing here is funded by the viewers, the affiliate income, and and those who give on my Patreon. So if you want to support what I'm doing here, you can join the Patreon. I do try to post some behind-the-scenes stuff, some additional content there, and you can give for I think as little as $3 or $5 a month. And it just goes to every little bit helps to support what I'm doing. I don't want to be, taking sponsorships and stuff and getting paid that way. I just want to bring you my thoughts and my experience and truly help you grow your business. So that's my goal here with this. So let's last few questions here. What do you do with leftover ink? Yes, I just dispose of it. I do my best to only mix the amount of ink that I need for that order. And I've gotten pretty good at gauging that. So any ink left over gets tossed. And then definitely going to get my hand on the Costco wipes. How long do they last? As long, depending on how many you use. So I used probably, gosh, where did they go? Oh, they come in a big box, and you get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 or 8 packages in a box. And I used maybe like 8 or 10 wipes. I mean, they last forever. They last a long time. I probably buy them once every, I don't know, it depends on how much you print, really, and how much you're cleaning. These are also really good, and these are linked on the screenprintingtoolbox.com. These crocodile wipes, so you can get the link to these. These are fantastic, and they're huge. They're like this big, like a freaking towel, and they're really tough, and they do a great job too. So I actually have some of these that are dedicated for grilling, and I have some of these out with my grill to wipe off my flat top and my smoker and stuff. But those are a great wipe option as well. So yeah, Costco baby wipes. If you're printing water-based ink, they're a must. So, all right, that's it for today's Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed watching me print. If you have any questions, follow up, or you know have any comments or anything, leave them in the comments below. Love to hear your feedback. Love to know how I can help you. Until then, we'll see you next Friday at next Friday's Lunch Break Live. And until then, hopefully I'll get a couple of videos out to you. But be sure you're following, you like and subscribe here. Follow me on Instagram, and be sure you sign up to the email newsletter because I do send additional content that way as well. So hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.